This is the Comedy Kiosk, podcast by Monday and Munoz. Please welcome Monday and Munoz.
Welcome to the Comedy Kiosk, a podcast in which we talk about news, opinions, and ideas in comedy. I'm David Munoz.
And I'm Igor Monday.
And today's bit is going to be called Weird Bits and Shows. And it's basically over to you, Igor. Why the hell are we talking about this?
Well, yeah, I just started reminiscing and thinking of some very strange, unusual shows that I've had in the last 7, almost 8 years I've been doing stand-up. And basically just thinking that in that moment, maybe they sounded or looked fine to me. But then now that I think back, some of them were quite weird, unusual. I'm not sure it's the kind of thing that really should happen on stand-up shows.
Okay.
So I thought that we could basically share some stories and let the people know what kind of weird shit stand-up shows can end up being and what kind of weird little moments can happen during the shows, before the shows, in regards to venues, audience, other comics, or anything like this.
Yeah.
So let me start with one of the weirdest things that ever happened. And I'm not sure you were there, so maybe, I'm sure you've heard of this, but
Possibly.
I can't remember, were you there that particular evening? But what happened was, and I'll start kind of a little bit with an, what do you call it, prologue, right? Of this
Little preamble here. Okay.
Yeah. What was it? What was supposed to happen, right? So
the way it was supposed to go, but obviously did not.
well, the way it was supposed to go is like every stand-up show, right? But
Everyone goes on stage, they kill it, great jokes, the audience loves you, and then someone offers to give you a hand job afterwards.
wait, so you've heard this story? Yeah. So the point is that some years ago, before the whole pandemic and stuff, before it became impossible,
Back in the never.
yes, back in the good old days,
The dream time.
we would try our best to bring a foreign comic, like an experienced comic from another country, here, basically to have some diversity, to showcase some new faces and so on. And usually it was once a month on a Saturday. It would be a bigger show in a fancier venue, ticketed and stuff like this.
Yep.
And then we would also recommend to those comics to come a day before that on Friday, because on Friday we had our regular showcase where we would choose like 3, 4, 5 people, depending on the era and organization that we worked with back then. Basically, they would get 10 to 15 minute spot, and they would see what the audience is like.
To kind of prepare them. And, and also kind of like an advertisement, because then you could take that little bit, you could show it saying this is what you can expect to see for the show tomorrow, and buy a ticket.
Yeah, so it was beneficial for us, beneficial for them to, test the waters, to see how people will react to some jokes. Should they slow down? Should they speed up? Should they announce it more, etc.?
Should they use simple words?
Yes, a thing that you never mastered.
Nope.
So
Refused to master. I refused to master it. Thank you very much.
I know
I
you
shall
did.
be verbose as I could be. Oh, that's going to be one of the weird stories I tell later. Actually, I forgot about that.
there you go.
Keep going.
Write it down. So basically, Saturday was the booked show for this headliner, guest comedian that we had, already selling well and stuff. Friday, he was supposed to do our regular Friday show, which was a small basement dive bar made and ran by a group of friends for the last like 20 years or something.
You're talking about Prosto, right?
Yes. People that were really into kind of weird music. They had their own like bands. They would gather and jam. I think
it was like a jam room or something. Like they just meet up late on a Saturday. They'd bring their guitars. They had like a piano in the background, like that you could and they just sat around. And I was there a few times afterwards. And interesting people, cool.
Interesting people, weird, strange, but interesting. Yeah, interesting
Artistic.
is a good
Bohemian.
word. But after like 1 or 2 a.m., it would really, really get weird. I don't know, have you ever stayed that long?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it would be like huge drunk biker dudes playing, what do you call it? Like the board game? Backgammon. Yeah, and this kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway.
And they had their illegal, like they had their moonshine, their Samagon, but they had their own one, because I remember the owner of the bar at one point, he also offered us, he gave us free shots a few times to my wife and I, and we ended up plastered, getting home absolutely and utterly plastered.
Yeah, it was that kind of place where, a lot of things was sold that probably wasn't legal. But in terms of a bar itself, the venue, it was that kind of, like
Bohemian, cool, rustic,
well,
DIY.
I would say broken, damaged, a little bit like,
Such negative words.
what would you call it? Like open pipes, not open pipes, like visible.
Oh yeah, like there's no proper ceiling sort of thing.
Yeah, and this kind
So
of
you can
stuff.
see all the wiring and all the rest.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember I'll never forget this, and I think fits well into this story. Once I invited a group of friends to come that I knew for maybe a couple of weeks only, like through someone else. And I was like, I do stand up. They were like, oh, we would love to come and see it. Where is it? And I was like, Friday at this place.
Right.
So the show was at 9 maybe.
So it's How to Lose Friends Quickly by Igor Monday.
Yeah.
Invite them to your stand-up show in this dingy backwater little retro bar underground in a basement with exposed wiring tubes.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not what they expected, but that's not even the worst thing. Basically, it was Friday and the show was maybe at 9. So people finished work at 7 and went straight for the bar. I was planning to be there at 8:30. So I had no idea they would go there that early. And at 7:30, I get a message from one of these guys, and he says, by the way, we came to the place you described. We're not sure we're in the right place. And I'm like, okay, can you describe it? And he's like, it smells like my dead grandfather's coffin. I'm like, you're in the right place. It's like, it is that kind of place, right?
Yeah.
So we had this Friday show there. It was late October. I remember late October, it was still kind of okay weather, maybe like 12, 15 degrees outside. So it's a basement. It's like 2 floors down, basically, in the basement, this place. And above it, it's a bar, and above that, it's some kind of hostel or whatever. So we start the show. I was hosting the show. It was supposed to be, I think, 4 comics and then this headliner. Full room, packed, like completely. People sitting on the stairs, on the floor, everywhere, because it was that kind of place as well. So I start hosting. First 10, 15 minutes go. Show is great. Super responsive crowd. Great atmosphere. People drinking, having fun. Amazing. Yeah. And then at one point, we just hear like some kind of quiet, like crackling noises from the corner. And I turn around and I see a pipe like slowly bursting, like small holes, and water starts dropping from the pipe. And we're like, okay, water is dropping from the pipe. And Oleg, one of like my co-organizers at that period of time, he was like, bartender, do you have a bucket or something, whatever. By the time we managed to kind of get the bucket to just put it under this, the pipe completely burst and the water started spraying in like basically waves out of this pipe. In the next 3 minutes, the whole place was flooded to your knees.
Wow.
So people started grabbing their drinks and going out because someone just ordered a bottle, someone ordered like whatever. And there was a terrace upstairs. Even though it was late October, they still kept the terrace outside. People just rushed outside, of course. And in the next like
with their drinks, like don't leave the drink. No,
drinks,
no. Protect, save the drinks, save the drinks.
And I mean, it was even quite dangerous. As I said, like 2 floors underground. So if it fills, you're kind of trapped, right? So people ran outside in kind of panic. And by the time we picked up everything, like equipment and stuff, helped the bar staff to, like somehow close the, what do you call it, the valve.
Oh, right, yeah.
And stuff like this. Yeah, and we went upstairs, and most of the audience was still there because they were finishing their drinks, and it was kind of nice weather, and they were hanging on the terrace. And we just checked, like, okay, all the comics are still here. This guy, like, came from abroad to visit us to perform. Most of the audience is still here. Let's do a show on the terrace. Yeah. And the terrace was still there, but the chairs and tables were taken away because they were prepared to put it in storage because it was almost like autumn, winter and stuff. And we just like stood on that terrace, asked people to stand in front of us. There were 2 comics from each side with their flashlights on the phone, like kind of making a spotlight on the performing comic. Yeah. We had no microphone or anything, so we found like a stick or something for a comic to hold to pretend it's a microphone, just so you have that feeling of
because
I'm on
comedians are so stupid, like they're so dramatic. I can't do jokes and be funny unless I have something in my hand.
Well, I mean, it's that.
Give me a hairbrush. Give me a hairbrush.
Yeah, I'm a performer. I need my microphone. That's how it works. So yeah, and we did the rest of that show all the remaining comics did their sets. Something like 60% of the audience stayed. So I think originally it was maybe 50 people in that room. I would say around 30 stayed on that terrace for the additional hour or something in their jackets at like plus 10, 12 degrees in the night.
With a drink in their hands.
With a drink, seeing this show till the end. And even like we had a bucket at the end and we gathered some money from them, and people were more than generous because they were like, well, I mean, it can happen to anyone, just this kind of thing, a pipe burst, right? But the fact that you
soldiered on.
Yeah, like show must go on, basically. You
What professionalism. We did not expect that from you at all.
I mean, they did not, and why would they? So
look at us.
Such a kind of, I think I will never forget the show, performing for like 30 people, just standing up like on a terrace, holding a stick or a knife or something like this with two guys on the sides with the flashlights in your face. And and still went really well. People laughed, people enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right, that's really good. Yeah, that would be a bit of a waste. No, I was not there for that. That one I did not partake in.
Yeah, I think I have a vague memory of who was performing that night, and I don't think you were there.
No.
But so do you have a weird story, weird moment, a bit?
Oh, there's been a few, but actually one that I just thought of. So I'd like to say it before I forget. What is? I remember I had come up with a new bit, and actually it was when we were doing the storytelling bit, and I was hosting it, like one of the storytelling shows, and I started telling the story of Richard, the gay guy who hit on me, sort of thing, when I was in my early 20s. And so it was a new bit that I was like playing with, and that I was kind of learning how to like formulate and all the rest, and I was performing it. And we had just moved to a new venue, Ruin, I think it was, the one that was also another basement. It's a very common theme here is to end up performing in basements, it seems. But anyway.
I think it's a very common theme everywhere. I remember first time we went performing around Europe, and we thought like, fuck, after like 3 years performing in basement bars, finally some normal places. And out of, I think, 5 shows, 4 were in basements. So it's
where do you shove a comedian? In the basement.
I think it's for I mean, even many of like the Comedy Cellar and stuff like this, there are many of like famous comedy clubs are also underground. So.
Yeah. So anyway, so we were in a new location. You know, we had some whole new bunch of faces and whatever, like new crowd. It was a small sort of place. And I remember I was doing this Richard bit. Now, the thing is, you know, Russia already has a little bit of a reputation of being a bit homophobic sort of stuff, which, you know, but, you know, I was doing this bit, and there was one guy I remember in the audience, and he was probably Southern Russian, maybe, or Chechen or something like that. And he was sitting, and I got up and I did my bit, and he was sitting like near the front, but I mean, it was a small bar. It's not that hard. And he had this serious look on his face, like this really angry, like furrowed brow look on his face. And I was doing this Richard bit and blah, blah, blah. And I did all this. And the whole time he's just scowling at me the whole show. And I was like, okay. And then I got off stage, you know, I got the applause, you know, he applauded, but he still had like that bit of perplexed look on his face. And I was like, uh-oh. And then I thought, well, I don't think this guy's going to come back, because he had this look for most of the show. I thought maybe he's, you know, he doesn't know what this whole setup is or something, like, you know, it's his first time at stand-up, and he's like, this is not what I like. So anyway, forgot about it, moved on. And then the next time I went there, I went to perform the next week, and he was there again. And I was like, oh, Jesus. And I can't remember if I was doing the same bit again or something different. Maybe I think it was some time. But it was another bit and he was glaring at me the whole time again. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. You know, this guy's not really enjoying it. And then at the end of it, I was grabbing a drink at the bar, and I turn around. You know that moment where you spin, like you grab your drink, you turn around, and then someone is like an inch from your face. And this guy was tall, and he's this big, burly kind of guy, like he was a very manly man sort of look. And he had that serious look on his face, and he's looking down at me, and I'm like, oh shit. Like I turned around, I almost hit my drink against him, like to spill. I'm thinking, oh fuck. And then he's like, he looks down at me, and he's like, and with kind of a broken, very thick accent, he's just like, I like your comedy. It is very smart and intelligent and very broad-minded. I enjoy it very much. Nice. And I was like, okay. He goes, you are probably my favorite comedian. You are one of my favorites. I'm like, thank you. Thank you very much. He's like, please continue.
This is what you get for being a judgmental bigot, David.
Exactly. What I figured out, I think what it was just him super concentrating. He was just a very serious guy in the sense of, I do not want to miss a joke, because his full attention was always straight to the eye. I'm like, oh no, he's just super focused. Like, this guy is just, but with a serious face focus, like, I cannot miss joke. You are hilarious. I love you. It's like, okay, thank you, buddy.
I pay for every second. I listen to every second.
Exactly.
I don't waste time on laugh.
Yeah, and if I recall, I think he actually tipped quite well. Like, in the bucket, he always gave like a good amount. So he obviously, and I saw him a few times there, and he seemed to enjoy himself. Well, seemed to enjoy himself? No. But afterwards, he would then relax, and you could see him like talking to, usually I think maybe it was his wife or girlfriend or whatever, but they would have chats and whatever. You could see like, and I think a couple of times maybe you or someone else sat with him and like was talking about the bits. And yeah, but it was like one of those, oh, okay. So you're a friendly guy, actually. You just have serious face, like angry face. That's his default.
Resting bitch face.
Yeah.
But yeah, if to mention some audience members that are memorable, and I remember, well, first of all, we had a topic which was all about hecklers, right? And I talked about this incident where one of our comedians and a good friend of mine got headbutted by a person from another room who was just irritated by stand-up existing and stuff like this.
How dare you do this format?
I mean, it was a drunk Scottish person, so what else could you expect? But yeah, and actually he was irritated because of stand-up, but he started an actual physical brawl because one of our other comedians, a Canadian, said, "Come on, man, just get out of here and go back to Glasgow." And he was like, "Glasgow? I am from Edinburgh." And then he turned around and headbutted our friend. So that's the
because
thing
that proves that you're from Edinburgh, doesn't it? Like, just headbutt a random person around you. Oh, you tell it because a Glaswegian would only headbutt their own mother.
No, they would punch probably.
Yeah.
But I remember one audience member, which was, and when we talked about hecklers, why I started this, when we talk about hecklers, I didn't mention her because it's even, I can't even.
Wait, what?
The girl I'm about to introduce.
Oh, right.
I didn't even talk about her then when we talked about heckling and stuff, because it wasn't even heckling. It was just, I think, a weird thing that happened. So I think I was hosting that show, and I was trying to crowd work, asking people who's been to our shows before.
Yeah.
Or who hasn't been to our shows before, and she clapped. And I was like, who's never been to stand-up before? And she clapped. And I was like, who's never seen stand-up before on TV, on YouTube, anything? And she clapped. And I was like, okay, well, sometimes we get those people that, it's kind of a fairly new format here, and it hasn't been around for a long time, maybe 10 years. So it still happens that people have kind of no idea. They see something in English, they think it's some kind of speaking club or something.
Yeah.
I'll go
or
there.
Theater show or something.
So she was there for the first time and kind of had no clue what the hell is going on.
See, my thing is, or does she just not understand English and she's just clapping at everything?
No. She spoke English. She wasn't like, a fluent advanced speaker, but she spoke and understood English.
So she understood what you were saying?
Yeah, she understood everything. I think that the problem was she just didn't understand the format. She didn't understand what the hell is going on. So the point is, after I moved from crowd work onto telling jokes, I think all the comics immediately understood what kind of audience member she's going to be, because everything I said, she tried to talk to me. Everything. I would be like, so I was in the metro, and she's like, oh, I came by metro. Just like says it out loud.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Thank
okay.
you for participating.
Yeah, okay,
Thanks.
yeah, we all use the subway like now and then. And I was going to my station, and she was like, what station do you live on? And I'm like, well, that doesn't really matter for the story, and I don't really want to. I was trying to somehow flip it to a joke, and try to make some banter, but she wasn't being rude.
Are you planning on stalking me or something? Like, you need to know my address. Why?
Yeah, but then I thought, like, if she really doesn't know what stand-up is, me kind of teasing and roasting and kind of bantering with her, it's also a bit, I feel like an asshole. I'm putting her down, but she's not offending or challenging me. She genuinely thinks it's like some kind of speaking club, right? And it went on for the whole, like, show. during my
You
bit,
didn't explain it to her like, hey, look, it's really great that this is your first stand-up show, but you know,
Yeah.
just so you know the rules, let's go, because maybe some other people also don't know the rules and they're a bit shy to ask, so let's go through this.
yeah, that's during my bit. I was trying to go through that bit,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah. And then I left Metro and I went outside, and she was like, oh, was it nice and sunny? You know, like just kind of constantly trying to participate in the conversation.
So lovely of her.
And it was so weird because, you know, I don't want to put her down. I don't want to be rude, but at the same time, I have to be like, can you please shut up? Because there is no way we can do a show like this.
Yeah.
So after that bit, I think I said, well, you said you're here for the first time. Let me, like, if you appreciate something, if you like something, clap or laugh. But overall, like, for the most of the time, please be silent, you know, and do not interrupt comics and stuff. And she was like, oh yeah, of course, I didn't know how it works, like it's more like theater, whatever. But then like she tried, but sometimes she would still, you know, I think she's like one of those also talkative people who, you know, like when there's a chat in the office, she would be like, oh really, where was that? You know, people that just, you know, like to have a chat.
Get involved.
Yeah, or like people that you sit next to in the bus and they're like, where are you going? You know, oh, is it your first time? You know, those kind of people. So she was nice and friendly, and, you know, it felt really bad in some way, like stopping her from participating. It was so distracting and so out of place, you know, like you really felt like you're in some kind of seminar maybe, or some kind of lesson or something where you're trying to say something and then there's this annoying student that keeps interrupting you, like, sir, what about this? Oh, can you repeat that? Oh, what about, like, it's just, I don't know, I'll always remember. It was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I still kind of remember how she looks.
Yeah. Well, how'd she look?
Blonde and pretty.
Okay, good.
And she was alone. I think it might have been one of those things as well that we had.
Was she drinking?
I think she was drinking. Early days in like building our scene here, and you can also hear about that in another episode that we talked about, one of our early episodes, that we had mostly people who just wanted to hang out, meet foreigners, speak English, and we had a lot of like pretty young girls who wanted to meet foreign men and stuff like this.
Right.
Not for any, you know, like bad purposes, just for the purposes of networking or something like this, or maybe romantic purposes, anything like this. But yeah, definitely, I think she was from that layer of our audience.
Right.
So,
well, yeah, there are some that are like that that are there for those reasons. You know, they do show up. Okay, so that's a similar thing, I suppose, a heckling thing, where when I came back from Spain, so I was a year off. I came back from Spain, and you guys at the time, EMC, you invited me to perform with you guys on a regular basis, on a weekly basis. And occasionally I got to end up hosting, and we were in that Mojo place, which was like this kind of health food sort of restaurant or whatever, wasn't it?
No. Mojo was a normal bar, but in that same venue, they closed, and then maybe 6 months later, in that same venue, another place opened, which was
was it like a vegetarian restaurant or something?
Yeah,
or it was
like a healthy food kind
organic
of place,
sort of thing.
It was
anyway, whatever the hell
I can't remember how they called it.
Yeah,
but something like healthy teria.
Yeah,
like something where you, like a Italian style healthy food.
Yeah. Well, I think this was back in the Mojo thing, so it was just a bar at this point, I believe. But the venue, I mean, obviously the guy running it wanted to make as much money as possible, try to get as many people to come for whatever. So he kind of double booked, I guess, technically, where he booked, like, we had our stand-up show, and at the same time, there was a kind of corporate party, in inverted commas, of some kind, off to the side along the wall, and it was made up of guys who were probably in their, I think most of the guys there were in like the 30s or something like that. And then there was another group within that group who were a little bit older, particularly one guy who probably was in his 50s or something like that.
I'd say because I was there as well.
No, actually, yeah, probably
I think
40s.
they were in their 40s, late 40s, because they were mostly kind of gray already, and that's
starting to. And then you had the particularly probably the executives or the owners or whatever who were in their 60s or something like that, I would say late 50s or 50s or 60s, something like that, probably 50s. So anyway, and they were all along, and they had with them, they were being accompanied by rather young, early 20s, I would say, girls. So guys in their late 40s and 50s hanging out with these younger girls who were all very much, they're all wearing like cocktail dresses, high heels, all that sort of stuff. And apparently we found out later on that they were all models. They all belonged to a modeling agency. So they said,
models,
so we heard, models, yeah, inverted commas, models. So we had a group of that.
And what about girls? What was their job?
The guys, I don't know what the fuck they were doing.
They were, most of them were some kind of bankers.
Yeah,
like high
something to do with
profile
money.
banking, and there were some kind of Swiss, Dutch, whatever, like European bankers.
Yeah. And the main guy, the one who obviously was like the big dog, I think he was Dutch or something like that, from the Netherlands or something, but he had a very like American style accent, like very much sounded like he was almost like Texas or something. Anywho, so I was, I believe, I was performing. I wasn't hosting. I was performing at that point, and I was doing a show, and they were just, well, they didn't give a shit about our show. They were there to chat amongst themselves. But the problem is they were right up against near the stage. Like the way that the bar was set up, they ran down the whole side of the room. So their noise would really kind of send a wave across, making it hard to hear, making it hard to not get distracted. So at one point, I think I just told them to keep it down if they could. And the guy responded with something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. It's just I'm getting really excited, from the show. Like I'm just too excited to keep still or to keep quiet, sort of stuff." And I just ended up responding with, "Well, then stop taking so much Viagra," because he was the silver fox type who, with his grey hair and the young two girls, one on either side in their early 20s. So I made that remark. And he responded something like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." But he obviously got it, the dig, and the whole room erupted in laughter at that kind of dig at him. And he tried to like brush it off. And then they kind of quietened down a little bit. And then, of course,
I remember that show, and you handled it really well with him, because I think maybe I was hosting that show, and it was really hard from the beginning before you put them in their place. But I remember when we came there, me and another organizer, to set up everything for the show, and the owner said, like, "Guys, there's been a little bit of a mix-up. So today there is this private party, like these 5-6 kind of foreign bankers, right, that rented like 60% of the room, like those kind of tables and booths next to the wall near the stage, actually. And so it's like 5-6 of them, and there's going to be 32 or 36, something like this, models."
Yeah.
And like there was
that's right, there were a lot more girls than guys.
And
it was almost like 2 or 3 girls for every guy.
And everything was prepaid. They had like kind of champagne, food, everything like on each table laid out for them as well. But I remember, because I was then maybe, I don't know, 27, 28, and just an aspiring young comic, and I'm like, wait, we have a show and there's going to be 30 something models coming to the show, and I swear to God,
who have no interest in us whatsoever, because I don't think any of them spoke English.
No, but eye candy, So basically, we were setting up the stage, and it took us approximately 3 times longer than ever,
because you couldn't stop staring at them.
Because every 5 minutes, a new one would come through the door, and I think it was like maybe February or something. So they would come in these like long fur coats and stuff, but then they take it off, and it's this like short, nice cocktail dresses.
Skimpy cocktail dresses.
And it's like you can't. I'm like, we have to make this stage, we have to like do the mic check, we have to organize everything, but also damn, look at this one, like it was really kind of, but I remember that one.
And the part that I found really strange, though, the part that was weird for me, wasn't just that, like like you said, like I handled it, whatever, and then they kind of settled down. But the weird part was later on, once I finished my set, I went outside and I was having a cigarette at the time, and a drink, and then the guy who I had, he started coming towards me, and I thought, oh shit. Like, and he was super friendly, and he was like, "Oh, I love what you do," but he was almost very kind of like, and he wanted to shake my hand. He's like, "Oh, I hope you know I was just goofing around." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, cool."
I mean, I think
it was very bizarre. That was the weird part for me, was like okay, buddy. Like, I don't know, maybe he was trying to save face or something, or
overall, I don't think they were.
Maybe he respected me more because he was like, "Hey, you give it out just as good as you get." I don't know.
Yeah. No, it was strange. I think overall they were mostly also kind of, nice.
Yeah, they weren't mean-spirited.
Yeah, they were just like, they booked this place for themselves, for their private party, and then there were some like assholes doing some open mic kind of stand-up in the same place. So it was actually the fault and the mix-up of the owner, bar manager, right? So nobody was at fault here, like, I mean, us or them. And that's the thing. So I don't think they were particular. In the beginning, they were kind of loud and didn't care because they didn't know what's going on. But once we asked them and told them to, be respectful for the next hour, then they can have their party, they mostly were. Yeah. So the first show we had in that place was the same story. That was maybe 4 or 5 months before the Modo Banker party. Mm-hmm. The first show ever, we said, let's try it on a Friday, I think. And the guy confused it with Saturday or whatever. Like he thought it was a different day. So for Friday, he booked an esoteric masterclass.
What the hell is an esoteric masterclass?
So it was a woman who is an astrologist, and she would help you locate your find your crystal, locate your planet. And then she would do a reading for you to see how that defines you and affects you in your everyday life and future endeavors and stuff like this. So basically, we had something like 20 people booked for that show, and she had something like 5 people for her esoteric thing. So when we actually showed up and our audiences started coming, and out of her 5 people that booked it, like 2 showed up, the owner said, there's been a mix-up. The guys are going to have a stand-up show. So can we do your thing some other time? Kind of basically canceled her event. And she was like, okay, whatever, I don't care about it anyways, blah, blah. But then she started going for she spoke English really well. And she started coming to us and she was like, oh, I hear you performing today. That's so interesting. I like artists. You're so passionate. You're so, expressive, blah, blah. Can I do your reading? And I remember I sat down to write my jokes. And this woman was actively trying to, and I was so annoyed with this whole situation that we have to share that space, that she's annoying me while I'm writing my jokes and stuff, that I was just making up shit. She was like, what's your birthday? And I was like, 6th of August, 1992. And she's like, okay, that's fine. If I say Jupiter, what color do you imagine? And I'm like, purple. And she's like, I see. I knew that. That's the color of your aura. And this kind of stuff, like if I say a valuable metal, which one do you think of? And I'm like, zinc. And she's like, good, zinc. This kind of stuff. And
tin. Yeah. Valuable. Give me the tin. Yes, tin. That's what everyone says, tin, yes.
It's always tin.
Typical. It's always tin.
So, yeah, and then she wrote this kind of, she spent the next 10 minutes writing, and she wrote out like the profile of me, like an astrological profile of me. And
did you guys have to charge? Did she charge you for this?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, at least that's the good part.
Well, I mean, sure. But the funniest thing was she was like, and how did you start this? How did you get into comedy? And I'm like, well, we just do it, practice, workshop and stuff. And I was like, how did you get into astrology? And she was like, I went to university. And I was like, I'm sorry, you went to university for astrology? And she was like, well, yeah, I mean, it was an online university. And I'm like, you went to an online university? And she's like, well, it was a course. Actually, a course. I'm like, you passed a course in astrology? And she's like, well, it was more like an evening school masterclass kind of thing, but I have a degree. I'm like, okay, you have a degree in astrology.
Yeah, because they give degrees in astrology. It's certified. You know what? She needs to get that translated. If it's not in English, she should get it translated, notarized, and apostilled, so she can use it internationally. And it can be recognized by places like Harvard and Yale,
by the scientific community.
Oxford. Yeah, scientific community. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but
can't let that slip, because with the way the world situation, you never know where you're going to end up. So
So yeah, talking about the mix-ups and especially that venue, that happened as well. But one last example I have of it wasn't even weird, the actual show, but the whole situation, how it came to be.
Yeah.
So we were on tour, the last one just before the pandemic started. We were traveling around the Nordic countries like Northern Europe and performing. And we were supposed to do 3 shows in Sweden. Mm-hmm. Actually, we were supposed to do 4 shows in Sweden. Mm-hmm. 1 in Stockholm with a kind of famous promoter and organizer that has his own stand-up club. And 3 more in like smaller student cities spread around Sweden, where there was a chain of newly opened American-style sports bars. So they were called something like New York Sport Bar. And it was like a chain. Basically, in each city, there was the same bar, same like uniform, same menu, this kind of stuff. And they were really pushing this kind of American foreign theme, angle, whatever. So they were like, oh, what's more American than English stand-up, right? So when we were planning the tour, someone recommended to Oleg Denisov, who organized this tour, reach out to them. I've done shows there. It was pretty good. They're looking for English-speaking acts, and they're ready to pay a fixed fee up front and stuff like this. So we were like, sure, why not? So it was supposed to be 3 days in a row, like small Swedish student cities where those bars are, and they would handle promotion, they would handle everything like ticketing and pay us a flat fee up front. So maybe 5 days before we go on tour, he talks to them and they're like, yeah, everything is fine. See you when you come there. Just find the bar manager. He'll organize everything, get you to the green room, feed you, organize everything for the show and stuff like this. Okay.
Feed you, brush down your coat, make sure you're show ready, check your haunches.
Sure. I don't know what kind of service you expect, but that wasn't it, even in that context. So 2-3 days before we go to first of those cities, Oleg tries to get in touch with the first bar in the first city. And they're kind of like very slow in answering. They're like, yeah, sure, come here and whatever. Yeah, fine. And he was like, that's weird. They seem a little bit like reluctant to have us. Let me get in touch and confirm with the other 2 cities as well, right? And they just stop answering. They like didn't pick up the phone, didn't answer messages, nothing. So it's now like 3-4 days before we go to those cities and perform, and they just ghost us. Nothing. Yeah. They're just not answering. So the first one still is okay. They're saying like, yeah, the show is on and everything. And he's asking, can you get in touch with those branches? And the guy's like, we had nothing to do with them. It's like a franchise or whatever. So like we run our own bar restaurant here. That's maybe I can find somewhere like contacts or whatever, but it's on you. We can't organize a show in a different city, and we don't care about that. So basically 2 days before we are supposed to go to the city where we now don't have a venue and don't have a show, Oleg is like, well, we sold tickets on Facebook and online. We have people who bought tickets. So we have people who are ready to come to the show, and we have a venue that's not answering and doesn't want us there. Let's find a new venue.
Right.
So through like contacts, through sheer like perseverance and grit or whatever you would call it, Oleg spends, a few hours on the phone, on Facebook, on the internet, and Googles like bars in Jönköping or whatever, this like small Swedish city, or was it the other one? I don't know. There were 3 cities with similar names, right? And he asks people, and he asks, has anyone performed here? Does anyone live here? Through some student groups, like where do people go out? Where do English-speaking people go out? But that's a maybe 60,000 people city, and not much is happening. It was like a Tuesday or something. And someone gives him a contact.
And it's the New York burger place.
No.
It's like, that is the place to be. Everyone goes there. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, we're like, yeah, definitely.
Shit.
So someone gives him a contact and says, reach out to this guy. He speaks English and has a place. And
his basement. It's always in a basement. Woohoo!
Yeah, and weirdly, there's some skeletons there. I don't know what's that about. But
chains on the wall.
And bring some bolt cutters.
Yeah.
But yes, he's like, reach out to this guy. He speaks English. He has a bar. Maybe he'll be able to help you, right? So Oleg calls him and he's like, I got your number from da-da-da. And we have a stand-up show in English tomorrow. It's sold out. We sold like 60 tickets or something. We're looking for a place. And the guy's like, sure, let's do it. What do you need? And Oleg's like, basically we need like a microphone and some speakers, surround system, whatever. He's like, yeah, I'll get you all of that. No problem. Come a bit early and I'll feed you. I'll show you around. We'll like chat and stuff, and then you can have the show here. And we're like, wow, we found a venue in a foreign. Well, not we. Oleg did it. Found a venue in a foreign country in like one afternoon without speaking the language, without knowing anyone. Perfect. What was the place? We go on Facebook and it's a kebab shop.
Oh, delicious.
And yeah, but it's an actual kebab shop. Like it looks like a kebab shop. There's this like long bar with the kebab spinning on the little like stripper pole. Like it's a nice place. It's not like some kind of, it's a very nice place, but it's a kind of it's a kebab place. You can see that it's a kebab, and it's definitely not a place where English stand-up would happen in a foreign country. But we come there that day a bit earlier. The guy is super nice. Everyone's super nice. They help us move all the tables so they kind of fit this stage area. We set up the mic. They feed us this delicious huge kebab as well, like on the house. And the people come. We have the show. People love it. They earn extra money because on a Tuesday we bring them 60 people and they all order stuff. We were happy because we had a show, we had a venue, and so on. But it was such a, if someone told me a year before that, you'll be traveling around Scandinavia and performing, and I'll be like, wow, where? In a kebab shop.
And that's going to be one of your best gigs. We'll be in a kebab shop. You'll be like, my God, are we that bad?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you're going to have a great show and people are going to speak English. And this like kebab shop man will speak fluent English. And he was somewhere from, I think, Middle East, because he was a native to the food he was making. And such a weird kind of last minute effort. Yeah. And still amazing show and like turnout and
well, it's like those pop-up gigs or whatever they have in New York and Boston, where it's famous, like a lot of these big names like Patton Oswalt and all these, or Emo Phillips, they performed in laundry mats and stuff, like these pop-up comedy shows that people do, like these alternative comedy shows where they do people's living room, they do it in laundromats, they do it in bookshops. No, the unconventional place. And the whole point is that it's meant to be in an unconventional place where normally you would never expect to see stand-up. And that's the whole point. In a way, you guys did it. You just ended up going alternative without meaning to. That's it.
Those shows are kind of meant to break the mold or whatever, be like super alternative, super, like taking comedy out of its comfort zone and stuff like this. But this was just a
fuck up.
Well, not a fuck up. It was just some. And basically,
desperation.
While we were, it was maybe, 500 meters away from the New York burger place, sports bar, whatever it was called. So while the audience was gathering, we went there to see it, and it was completely empty. And we're like, you fuckers, like, you'd rather have an empty bar than answer our calls and messages and have a show. I don't know what
Did you guys get in contact with them and cancel? Like, did you say, all right, we're not coming then?
No, they never, for like 5 days and up to the day of the show, they never answered or gotten back to us or anything.
You should have then taken photos of your gig with all these people, sent it to them and gone, oof, so many kebabs sold, buddy. So many kebabs sold.
But the show that we did have in the other city, in the first bar that actually happened, was also pretty bad, and the organization and staff and everything was quite horrible. So we were much, much happier with the kebab shop than with this shit sports bar. But that's just an example of how comedy out of place in a weird kind of venue also works.
Talking about out of place, there was the one time, like back when the Mojo days, when I first started, the best thing for me about Mojo was that it was literally down the street, on the same street as where my work was, right? It was about like a 10-15 minute walk with an underpass and all that sort of stuff, crossing a big busy road. And then remember one time I was at a Halloween party, and because it was the first Halloween party, the tradition was that the new teacher would wear the shark onesie that they had there. It was a big shark onesie, and so I was wearing it during the Halloween party. And then
that wasn't your shark onesie?
No, it wasn't mine. But it gets dry cleaned and then set up for the next person. So anyway,
that's not the concern I had, that the onesie was full of spunk or something like that. That's not my kind of, because I always thought that it's for some reason that it's yours, because you seem like a person that would walk around home in such a thing.
In a shark one? Really? Do I?
Instead of pajamas or something. Okay. And I thought maybe it's some like weird little role play you have with your wife, like, who's a little fishy? Come on, Big Daddy Shark, come and get me.
Come and eat me.
Yeah.
like nature says you should.
And then you just go behind her, Daddy Shark, do. But
there's a theme song. Oh dear Lord.
But
please don't give her ideas. She listens to this, all right?
But you don't. Now I know that you don't own that onesie.
No,
so
I don't own that onesie.
It's off the table. Yeah, but I was sure it's yours. Sure it's yours, because if someone asked me, out of all the comics we have in Moscow and we had in the previous years, I don't know which comic owns a shark onesie, I would say probably David. Probably.
Fair enough. No, that's fair enough. So the thing was, I didn't have time to change, because the initial idea was to obviously get changed, right? And I didn't have time because we had the time, and you guys were already messaging me going, when are you going to finish? Are you going to get here on time? This and that. And I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, yes, I'll be there. So I just grabbed my stuff and just ran. And I kind of was like, running through, and I literally was running through like the Moscow street, like this busy intersection street, and the underpass and everything, wearing a shark onesie, running to the gig, saying, I'm there, I'll just pop straight on stage. I think you were on stage hosting, and you were like spinning the wheels, like, just wasting time, like, the next comedian, he's going to be coming up and blah, blah. And then you saw me come around the corner, and I think you gave me that weird look of like, what the fuck? And then you were like, and he's from Australia. Obviously, you'll be able to tell. And then I just got up on stage and I just started performing. And the weird part was I had decided while I was running that I just was not going to mention the onesie. I was not going to make any comments about it. I was not going to allude to it. There was nothing in my bit about sharks or whatever. So I just was doing my bits and just didn't explain why. And people were laughing, but you could see they had that perplexed look on their face, like, why is he in a shark onesie? And eventually at some point I was like, is there any questions or something like that? Or would someone have something? And someone was like, yeah, just one. Why the shark suit? What's going on?
I have a crucial question that might explain some of it or make it more confusing. What was it? Halloween that day?
Yeah, it was Halloween.
Well, then it's like completely self-explanatory. I mean, like if it's Halloween that day, even though many people in Moscow probably, it
wasn't actual Halloween day. It wasn't the 31st of October, but it was around that period of time.
Well,
the party.
Still, like you could connect the dots, like if you gave it a thought, right?
Oh, yeah.
If it was like some kind of March show and you walk
in the shark onesie,
and
then you'd be like, well, it's because it's Shark Week on Netflix.
Yeah,
come on.
40-year-old man and not explain it at all, not be like playing a character of a shark or whatever. Mm-hmm. That would be very I think you would be like a.
I have been tempted to do it since then.
You would be like a fish out of water.
Never make that joke again. Now, but the thing is, I have been tempted since then to do something similar, like wear some really weird outfit on a random day, like a onesie like that, and then just not mention it. Just don't even talk about it. Just perform and just see how long it takes for someone to go, why the hell are you wearing? And then whatever the hell, like a Wookiee outfit or something. Yeah. So that was a bit of a weird one. It was a funny one, and it was, it was a little bit of a laugh.
No, I also think you probably do own a Wookiee outfit.
Shh, that one is roleplay.
Should I ask? In that scenario, your wife would be Han Solo, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yoda. I don't know. It's
Han Solo. She's cool.
All right. On. Sure. She's right.
Solo Hanette Solo.
You're gonna be
maybe
when she hears this episode, you're gonna be Solo.
Oh God!
But
I might not tell her when it's being released. I'll just be like, yeah. Is there an episode? Nope. No episodes.
Not this week. No, there was some technical glitch. Nothing got saved. Sorry, computer exploded. Microphone.
Yeah, but still, can you draw up the poster for it just in case?
Yeah, and also listen and like and comment and stuff. But it doesn't exist really.
Yeah. Oh, and give some money to the Patreon, whatever. And if you can, at some point, just give feedback. Twitter as well. We're on Twitter too, so babe, when you can, that'd be great.
all the social media, just go there, use it, write something, like us, share us, donate, whatever. But just keep in mind that this episode does not exist. Yeah, just for the sake of David's marriage.
And if you see it there, babe, it's not there. That's just a practice demo thing.
Also, let's do it like this. If we manage to get a donation on Patreon, let's promise that the first purchase will be a Chewbacca onesie for David. I guarantee, and we'll take a photo for our social media and stuff. And you guys are gonna. So whoever donates, I don't know what would Chewbacca costume go for. I don't know, $20. Whoever if we manage to gather $20.
No, because it's gonna be Star Wars apparel. It's got merchandising, franchising. I'm sure it's gonna be like $50, something stupid.
We're gonna get the Chinese one.
Oh right, yeah, true. Yeah.
It's not gonna be Chewbacca. It's gonna be like Chanbaka or something, Chanbuka. But it's kombucha. We're not splashing money out for a proper Disney
He's like a green
trademark.
Wookiee, the kombucha green Wookiee.
Yeah, the sour Wookiee, the mushroom Wookiee. Right, so do that. Please like us, follow us, share us, and if you can, donate to Patreon or show this podcast to someone who you think might enjoy it as well. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Igor Monday.
And I've been David Munoz.
Goodbye.